Just when you think you're getting the hang of Call of Duty Vanguard, you're reminded you're playing Call of Duty. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Cloud Gaming Extreme channel. Today we're having a look at Call of Duty Vanguard on Shadow PC. You can see here from my Shadow settings I've got USB forwarding, I've also got the H.265 codec enabled at 1440p and 70 megabits per second, which is the max bitrate. Once we're into game, you can see that the quality is looking pretty good here at high settings, but the frames per second not so much, with the GPU maxing out around 30 FPS. So I dropped it down to medium and it looked absolutely horrible, but 60 frames per second, yay! However, the effect on the characters here is just absolutely awful. I think this is supposed to be the light reflections from the glass, but for the extra frames per second I just could not put up with this weird pixelation on the characters. So I did tweak the settings a little bit more and put to a balance of high and just knock down a couple of the other settings that I don't care so much about, the tessellation and shadow quality. Drop those down to medium to give a bit better FPS, but keep the quality on the characters. And this gave a good balance, so it didn't look as awful as medium, not as crisp as high, but I did get frames per second in between. So you can see those frames per second back up to the 40s. So in the cutscenes around 40 frames per second, and then when we get into the gameplay, pushing up higher to the 50 and 60 frames per second. Now this level is very intensive on the graphics. We've got so many lighting and shadow effects as well as mist and rain. So it really does push the limits here. The gunfights are pretty intense, so there is a lot of effects going on as well. So we do still see dips into the 30s. But 40 frames per second plus is a lot more stable, and the quality is looking good enough here. As you can see, we are still getting those dips into the 30s, but it's more than playable, and to be honest, the graphics are extremely good in this game, and because of the pace of game, you don't really notice the dips that much. Apologies if it does sound I'm in a battlefield, it's firework night here, and they have been absolutely relentless, so you may hear some random fireworks in the background. So overall, the campaign is the worst performing for me. As I said, these initial levels are extremely graphically intensive, but when we get into some of the lighter areas, we do hit back up into those 50s and 60s. So that's the campaign side of things. Let's have a look at multiplayer. I'm going to have a look at a team deathmatch, and multiplayer is going to be where most people spend a lot of their time. Now here we are holding 60 frames per second plus a lot of the time, and it is extremely smooth. And even in this stream where it's quite hard to see people, it's very satisfying to get those kills. As you can see, moving around, we're getting extremely fluid frames per second, and it is very responsive. No input latency at all here when playing on Shadow PC from my computer. And my latency to Shadow was around 25 to 30 milliseconds. Time to kill in Call of Duty Vanguard is pretty good, but obviously this works both ways. So when you do find where somebody is, it doesn't take much to take you down if you're not first to get those shots off. And as always, there could always be somebody right behind you. We do have the kill cam here still though, which is a great addition to the lineup, so you can see exactly what happened. Lastly, we have the Zombies mode. This is a bit different to previous implementations of the Zombies mode in Call of Duties, where this is more instance based. You get a chance to upgrade your weapons between instances, but you're teleported into each one of these blitzes with increasingly difficult enemies. The first 4 or 5 blitz or so are extremely easy, the zombies go down very quickly, and you're rewarded quite well. But this does progressively get harder and harder, and hopefully the team sticks around with you, as each time you go back to the portal you get a small wave, and then the ability to upgrade your weapons and abilities for the next blitz. So that's Call of Duty Vanguard. As you can see, Zombies is around 40 to 50 frames per second most of the time. You don't get many hordes, but when the hordes do come in, it does drop those frames down a little bit into the 40s, so it's not quite as high as the multiplayer frames per second, but nowhere near as bad as the campaign. Let us know in the comments below if you're going to be diving into Call of Duty Vanguard and whether you'll be playing on Shadow PC. Thanks for watching, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things cloud gaming, and we will see you next time.